The Galactic Council's decision was unanimous. Ambassador Jakar of the Velnori Empire delivered the verdict with ceremonial coldness, his crystalline voice echoing through the grand chamber that had stood for 10,000 years. Humanity is hereby exiled from Council space. Your aggression, your reckless expansion, your refusal to accept your place in the galactic order, these transgressions cannot be tolerated. You have 6 solar cycles to evacuate all human presence beyond the quarantine zone. Any who remain will be eliminated. Earth's representative, Ambassador Sarah Chen, stood silently as the declaration was made. She didn't plead. She didn't argue. She simply nodded once, turned on her heel, and walked out. The council members watched her go, satisfied that they had finally contained the human problem. They had no idea what they had just unleashed. The quarantine zone was brutal, a sparse region of space on the galaxy's outer rim, riddled with rogue asteroids, unstable stars, and spatial anomalies that made navigation a nightmare. The Council had chosen it specifically because it was considered uninhabitable, a slow death sentence disguised as mercy. Humanity had 6 months to retreat into exile. The Great Exodus began immediately. Massive colony ships, mining vessels, military frigates, everything humanity had built among the stars turned homeward, converging on the quarantine zone. Billions watched from Earth as the Armada approached, a steel tide returning to the darkness. But Sarah Chen hadn't been idle during the journey home. While the Council celebrated their victory, she had been gathering every human scientist, engineer, and strategist she could find. In the cargo holds of the colony ships, away from prying eyes, they worked. "They think this wasteland will kill us," she told her team during their first meeting. "They're wrong. We're going to make it our fortress." The first year was hell. Ships were lost to asteroid storms. Colonies failed on barren moons. Thousands died. But humans had survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. They had crawled out of caves and reached for the stars. Exile was just another challenge. They began with the asteroids. While other species saw hazards, human miners saw resources. They harvested rare metals from the chaotic fields, building hidden refineries in the shadows of dead worlds. The spatial anomalies that made navigation impossible for Council ships became highways for human vessels, equipped with experimental drives born from desperate innovation. Then came the unstable stars. Zenthian scientists had declared them worthless, too volatile to harvest, too dangerous to approach. Human engineers disagreed. They built Dyson collectors that could withstand the violent fluctuations, siphoning massive amounts of energy. Within 3 years, humanity had more power at their disposal than any single Council species. The Council remained ignorant. Their patrol ships swept the quarantine zone's borders but never ventured deep into its chaos. They saw nothing but sensor ghosts and dying stars. They assumed humanity was withering away in the darkness. They were catastrophically wrong. By year 5, humanity had established 17 hidden strongholds throughout the zone. Massive shipyards constructed in the hearts of hollowed asteroids churned out vessels unlike anything the galaxy had seen, sleek, fast, and bristling with weapons born from pure necessity. Human doctrine evolved. Never fight fair, never fight predictable, never stop adapting. The Velnori were the first to learn this lesson. When their mining convoy ventured too close to the quarantine zone, they vanished without a trace. No distress signal, no debris, just silence. The Council dismissed it as navigational error. When a second convoy disappeared, they sent warships to investigate. The warships found nothing but empty space. Then the space attacked them. Human stealth vessels coated in sensor-absorbing alloys and running on minimal power signatures struck from every angle. Missiles appeared from what sensors registered as empty void. Energy beams lanced out from asteroids that weren't asteroids at all. By the time the Velnori understood they were under attack, half their fleet was already debris. The survivors limped back to Council space with a terrifying message. Humanity hadn't died in exile. They had evolved into something far more dangerous. The Council mobilized. A grand armada, the largest military force assembled in centuries, moved toward the quarantine zone. Jakar himself commanded from the flagship, determined to finish what the exile had started. They never reached their destination. Human strike teams, having spent years studying Council technology and tactics, hit supply lines across a dozen systems simultaneously. Fuel depots exploded. Communication relays went dark. Logistics networks collapsed. The Grand Armada found itself stranded, unable to advance or retreat effectively. Then humanity broadcast a message across every council frequency. Sarah Chen's face appeared on screens throughout the galaxy. Older now, but with eyes like hardened steel. "You exiled us to die," she said quietly. "Instead, you gave us time to prepare. You gave us motivation. You gave us nothing to lose. That was your first mistake. Your second was assuming we'd stay in our cage. Human fleets emerged from the quarantine zone like a storm. They didn't conquer worlds, they liberated them. Species that had suffered under council exploitation found human ships driving off their oppressors. Colonies that had been taxed into poverty received supplies and protection. Humanity didn't seek empire. They offered partnership. The Galactic Order crumbled within a decade. Some council species fought to the bitter end. Others, seeing which way the wind was blowing, joined the growing coalition of free worlds. The Velnori Empire, once mighty, splintered into a dozen successor states. Shakar was brought before Sarah Chen on the day the old council dissolved. He was ancient now, his crystalline form cracked and dimmed. "How?" he whispered. "We gave you nothing." Sarah smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. "That's exactly what you gave us, nothing, no rules. No restrictions, no mercy. You taught us that survival was our only option, and humans, Ambassador, are very good at surviving." She leaned forward. "You wanted us gone. You got your wish. The humans you exiled don't exist anymore. We're something new now, something you created, and we're never going back into the dark." The new Galactic Assembly formed a year later. It was different from the Council. More democratic, more egalitarian, more chaotic. Some called it humanity's empire. Others called it liberation. Sarah Chen called it justice. Standing on the observation deck of the Assembly's headquarters, built in the heart of what was once the quarantine zone, she watched ships from 100 worlds come and go. The wasteland had become the galaxy's busiest hub. Humanity had been exiled to die. Instead, they had transformed their prison into a throne, and the galaxy would never be the same.